Welcome, everyone. This is Michael Gibbs, and I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Architects and Go Cloud Careers. And I'm here today to help you build your best cloud computing career. Perhaps you're looking to get your first cloud architect job. Perhaps you're looking for your first solution architect job. Maybe you desire your first enterprise architect job or cloud engineering job. And that's why I'm here. I'm here to help architect your career, so you know exactly what to learn and you can get to your career goals as fast as possible. Personally, I've been working in technology now for over 25 years and loved every last moment of it. And I've spent the last 2 decades helping people either get their first tech job or get promoted in tech. And I want to help you, which is why I'm here with a free cloud architect question and answer session, cloud computing career question and answer session. So if you want that first cloud engineer job or that first cloud architect job or that first solution architect job, you can ask and I can tell you how to get there as soon as possible. Before we begin, let me tell you a few things to help you in your cloud computing career. This Thursday, we have our completely free How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar, and it's going to be a really fun time. You'll come to this webinar, and I will tell you how to leverage your life experience to show the hiring manager you have experience when you don't. I will tell you exactly what hiring managers dream about. So when you don't have experience, you can show the hiring manager you're exactly everything that they need, and you get hired every time, or at least most of the time. I will go over the exact cloud architect role with you, exactly what we do, so you're going to get it. And believe me, most people have this totally misconfused. Now, the next thing that we'll talk about is what needs to be on your resume. We'll cover the certifications and things on your resume to make you look more appealing to your customer, which is the hiring manager. And we'll do everything we can to teach you how to skip HR, go directly to the hiring manager, and get cloud hired. And we do that completely for free on Thursday. Now, my team and I have been working on a series of articles. As you also know, I'm in magazines at least 2 times per week where people are coming to me to talk about how to become a cloud architect or how to get the first job or how to get promoted in tech. So on LinkedIn, I will be sharing so many articles and so many more magazine articles and so many interviews where the press comes to me, and I'm going to be distributing that on LinkedIn. So please follow me on LinkedIn, and also Good Cloud Careers, because we'll post things that'll be helpful to your career and so many things to really help you get to your goals. And that's completely free on LinkedIn. So please follow us on Go Cloud Careers and my personal LinkedIn profile, that my team will actually post that information for you here. Now, tomorrow night, we're going to have a very special show, and it's going to be bringing on my friend Imran Takor. Imran and I worked together at Cisco for a long period of time. Imran also worked at Juniper Networks and many other great companies. Imran is an amazing cloud network engineer, cloud architect, network architect, and he's got a couple of decades experience. He's a close friend. And tomorrow night, we're going to talk about multi-cloud networking, the challenges in the networking, the lessons we've learned over the last couple of decades, the first clouds we work with, how the clouds have changed, and more importantly, how they've stayed the same, and how when you have the right foundations, you're always going to be successful. We're going to have a lot of fun talking about that tomorrow night. While we're at it, I've asked my team to extend the 30% discount off of every course that we have for a little bit longer. So currently, right now, if you want to get your first cloud architect job, or you want your first cloud engineering job, we have 30% off of all our courses using coupon code potential. So please take advantage of it. Enter that coupon code, buy the course that you desire, whether you want to be a cloud architect versus a cloud engineer, and soon you'll be cloud hired just like the rest of my students. And we'd love to work with you and help you get to your career goals. Last thing we'll talk about is people every day say to me, Mike, how do I get my resume to pass HR? And I say, what do you mean? I say, you don't need to apply for jobs. People come to you. They come to you, come to you. And I'm like, what do you mean? And I said, my average student gets so harassed by recruiters and hiring managers trying to hire them that their biggest thing is to say, look, I'm still training. So for this, we've offered a very inexpensive 4-hour LinkedIn and resume workshop. So you can be like our students, have the recruiters bombard you. Are you ready for an interview? Are you ready for an interview? Are you ready for an interview? Hiring managers, we went for an interview. So what happens is, why does this matter? When you're limited experience, the hiring manager knows the job. Like, who doesn't? HR. So you want to skip HR and go directly to the hiring manager. So that's why it's so important to be there, et cetera, et cetera. So keep that in the back of your mind. We have a whole lot of great things coming for you. And we'll potentially have another boot camp coming for you very soon. My team and I are actively discussing which one. And we want to do everything we can to help you get cloud hired. So please ask me any questions you have about building your career. Maybe you want to know what to learn. Maybe you don't want to know what to study. Maybe you don't know how to where you want to be and the steps that you need to get there. And that's why we're here, to help you do this. See, before I had a coach, I must have spent $40,000 on worthless certification information. This boot camp, that boot camp, this boot camp. This is 25 years ago. And you know what had happened in the end? Nothing. Nobody was interested in me. And then I found a coach and they told me what I needed to be. And a couple months later, I was hired, paid more. And I'd gotten to levels within 2 years that most people wouldn't get to in 2 decades. And that's why I value coaching so much. And that's why I love being a coach. And that's why I'm here, to help you avoid the mistakes that others make by showing you what an experienced person knows, someone that's been doing this with expertise. So ask your questions so I can get you cloud hired. That's my whole point. I just want to see you all cloud hired, cloud paid more, cloud promoted. And it's all about learning the right things and being the right thing and being the right friend. So when you kind of know these kind of things, this is where what we're talking about. How do you become what you desire to become? And then how do you get there? And if you don't know what you want to become, what are the skills that can help you figure it out? And again, I'm happy to help you here as well. So that's why we're doing this. So do me a favor before we begin. Give me a hashtag of the career you desire. It can be hashtag cloud architect. It can be hashtag cloud engineer. So I really want to help you get there, because I don't want you wasting your time on certifications. I want you to figure out what job you want, and then the certifications can help support it. But if you just get a million certifications, you'll be sitting on the unemployment line, wasting your time going on certification. Now, if you know what job you want, then you can get the right skills, the right knowledge, and the certifications are kind of like the icing on the cake. So if you need to know what is the cake, and then the certifications are something that helps you get an interview, but they don't teach you what you need to know for any career. So I want to know what you want to do, so I know how to help you. And please, after you tell me whether you want to be a cloud architect or a cloud engineer, or I'm not sure, and if you're not sure, you can ask me that question too, and I'll go over the roles for you to see what you like, and you can find something suitable for you, because I just want you to know. Jeremy Wright, I wish much success for Mike and Go Cloud Architects. Thank you so much, Jeremy. We wish you the most success, and we do anything we can to help you. Leo Paredes over there in Sao Paulo, Brazil. How are you today, Leo Paredes? Eddie Patrick, glad to have you here. Eddie, I'm so happy you're here. Eddie's in Bamenda, Cameroon. Mr. Businessman, good to see you. If I can remember, you are in Georgia. And Abigail Marks, she's on my team now. She's fantastic. She's an Army veteran, a fantastic cloud architect. She's got a lot of blockchain knowledge too. Welcome, Abigail, and I'm so happy you're here. Gabe, good afternoon. It's so good to see you. Angela Lacey, you don't know where you want to be, but you've always been interested in the tech sector. How do we figure that out? And what is studied? Should we focus on getting certifications? So Angelica, the first thing I'm going to say is don't focus on getting certifications. Focus on what you want to become. So I want you to think about this. If you were to build a house, it needs a foundation. It needs walls. It needs plumbing. It needs electric. It needs a roof. It needs windows. That's your actual knowledge for the job. The certification basically is the name of a service and how I configure some proprietary thing, which many jobs don't even do. And it's kind of like the paint on the house. The house looks a lot nicer after it's been painted, but the house will still work without the paint. But you can have the most beautiful paint in the world, which is your certifications, and it won't do anything without the actual house. So we need to focus on what's right. So Angelica, the first part is determining what would you like to do. I'll give you a couple examples. As a cloud architect or a solution architect, our job is to design, present, and sell. Now, this is a business executive mixed with technology professionals. Now, Angelica, if you've got 10 certifications, you want a cloud architect job, and mind you, this is the highest paying of all the careers. They won't hire you at all because they're going to look at you as a jack of all trades and a techie. Now you've got so many certifications. And Angelica, when I've got people coming to me with a lot of certifications that have been on interview after interview after interview, and they get asked all these techie questions, I remove at least 6 or 7 of the certifications, and it's like that they get more better interviews. And when they get to better interviews, and the interviews without all these silly certifications, people start asking them what they do about their job, and then they're getting hired. So the key is, for an architect, you need to design, present, and sell. So what are the skills for the architect? Networking and data center knowledge, not how to configure stuff with your hands like it's covered in certification, how to design it. Think of it this way, Angelica, it's like a building architect. When you hire a building architect to design your 1,000-meter tall hotel with 10,000 rooms and waterfalls and gardens, that architect's not cutting the grass or using a hammer or a screwdriver. They're designing the building. That's what the cloud architect does. And if you like to give speeches, give presentations, buy lunches, dinners, and drinks on the corporate credit card, right? This is your job. This is the cloud architect or solution architect. It is a non-hands-on tech. It's not a hands-on technical. We design, present, and sell. So leadership skills, executive presence, emotional intelligence, business acumen, ROI modeling, negotiation, CXO relevancy. That's your skills for this job. And if you have too many certifications, it precludes you from getting these jobs because nobody wants a techie as an architect, cloud architect or solution architect. Now the cloud engineer, Angelica, is a totally different job. So I previously told you that the cloud architect designs the big tall building, or the building architect. But let's say I wanted to bring a hotel from scratch to building. After I had a beautiful picture done by the architect and maybe a little model, 3D printed model, I have to hire a construction crew. Now the construction crew is the actual cloud engineer. The cloud engineer does not design. The cloud engineer builds, and the cloud engineer needs to know how the systems work of the network and the data center, which are the same systems of the cloud. But the cloud engineer will also need to code because they're going to automate things, which means the cloud engineer needs to know Python. Not an architect. It's not a valuable skill for the architect. The cloud engineer needs to be really good at Linux because they're going to be administering Linux, for example. Now, this cloud engineer it needs to understand automation such as Terraform. And this engineer needs to be really hands-on technical. So in one case, we've got a cloud architect who designs, presents, and sells and doesn't touch the technology. And now we've got a cloud engineer, which is a hands-on techie. They're behind a desk coding and configuring all day, using the CLI, the management consoles, using Terraform for infrastructure as code, writing bash scripts and writing Python scripts. That's a cloud engineer. You can see they're very different. And then there's a security one after security people. Now there's security engineers that build the things, meaning the firewalls, the IDS, IPS systems, access control lists. They're setting up like anti-malware kind of things. They're working hands-on. And then there's the cloud security architect, which are designing the security systems, meaning how do you design the end-to-end solution? How do you present it to the executives? How do you sell it to the executives? What strategies do you need to secure the environment? What's the end-to-end picture look like, for example? What kind of training do we need for the employees? Anti-phishing, for example, or anti-social engineering. So these are the kind of things that are there. So really what I encourage you to figure out what you like to do. If you like to be a design presenter and seller like me, it's an architect job all the way. Now, if you want to be hands-on technical, that is a cloud engineer. But there's usually different variations. So if you give me a little more information, I can tell you. But I can tell you one thing, certification is the last place to go. Build that house first before you paint the house. And if you give me a little more knowledge, I'd love to help you get to you. How do you figure out? You got to figure out what you love. That's what you master. As Mark Twain said, if you make your vacation or your holiday your vocation, you'll never work a day in your life. And as good as you're going to have to be in these careers, you're going to be constantly learning. You must love what you do. Great question, Angelica. Effie Tamiz, cloud architect. I'm so good to see you. Jerry Mike, cloud engineer. Des, cloud architect. Good to see you. Hakeem, cloud architect. Russian, cloud architect. Tom Sawyer, hey Mike, what do all these job descriptions have different kind of things? You confused on what to expect. Tom Sawyer, I look at job descriptions as comedy material. I seriously do the stupidest thing I've ever seen. I'm going to tell you, until recently, the rest of us cloud architects, and I'll tell you why job descriptions are so bad. We would get together and drink a Macallan 25 scotch. Most of us that I know like good scotch. We had a brandy or whatever. We'd get a really good scotch periodically in the last couple of years. We'd get on Zoom and we'd look at these job descriptions and laugh hysterically because they have nothing to do with these jobs. Now, I'm going to actually give you some more information on this. Now, I want you to understand why these jobs are descriptions are so bad and so stupid. And there's two things going on. One is I want you to understand the HR quagmire or the HR predicament, which is they get 5,000 applicants for every single job. Now, Tom Sawyer, I want you to understand this because hiring managers don't write these dumb job descriptions. No HR person can possibly look at 5,000 applicants for a single job, especially for the following reason. They may have, like Amazon, 25,000 open positions and 5,000 positions for jobs. Now, the second problem is HR are not technology professionals. So they have no means to assess who you are. None. And I'm going to also tell you that right now, I've never gotten hired for a job for which I had more than 10% of the job description. And I've never seen a job description that was actually accurate for the most part. So there is that. And I'll explain to you why. So what happens is, here's how these job descriptions are written. I say to somebody, hey, I need a cloud architect. And if I were to write a job description, what I would do is, I don't know how to write a job description. Look, I've interviewed 6,000 people in my career. I've hired more people than I can count. I'm a CEO, but I don't know how to write a job description. So what would I do? I would go to Indeed or ZipRecruiter or Dice. I would type the words cloud architect, and I would look at this beautiful thing that's like 10 pages long and say, remarkably comprehensive. And here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this information. You can get all kinds of happy and excited by it. And I'm going to add the stuff that I want, and then I'm going to save it and post it, and I'm going to feel good about myself. So these are cut and paste job descriptions full of irrelevant nonsense. In fact, it was so bad that it wasn't just like me. I initially was trying to tell people, this is what cloud architects do. Cloud architects don't do this kind of nonsense. And it got so bad that Gartner decided to ask the customers, the hiring managers, and the people that run the IT divisions to say, what do you want in a cloud architect? And my team will give you the link to this article. So when Gartner asked chief information officers, which in case you guys are new to tech or new to business, I'm the CEO, for example. I set the strategy for my organization. My chief information officer, which I'm currently also wearing that hat, which I shouldn't be, but I am, my chief information officer will say, what kind of technology will help me or the company execute the CEO's vision through tech? So that's what the CIO does. So the CIO hires the VP of IT, the director of IT, and then the cloud architects. So now you know what's going on. So if you want to know what we cloud architects do, ask a chief information officer. So that's the reality. So what does a cloud architect do? Well, we lead the cultural change for cloud adoption. We develop and coordinate a cloud architecture. We develop a cloud strategy and coordinate the adoption process. We find talent with the necessary skills. We assess application software and hardware. We create a cloud broker team. We establish best practice for the cloud across the company. We oversee governance and mitigate risk. We work closely with the IT security people to monitor privacy and develop incident response procedures, manage budgets and estimate costs, and operate at scale. That's what we do. We design, present, and sell. In fact, just today, another one of my students, he's a young man, just got hired, and he said, Mike, so it's my first day, and they're already getting me an American Express card. Mike, why do I need an American Express card? And I said, because you're probably going to be spending $100,000 to $200,000 a year entertaining clients, taking them to steakhouses, buying them drinks, taking them golfing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, when you went on the interview, what did they tell you they wanted? They sent it with somebody that could design, present, and sell, that had the ability to connect to executives and convince them to buy the technology that we designed to improve their business. I said, there you go. Don't worry about it. We design, present, and sell. So what do? Well, we entertain clients, take them for dinners and drinks. We respond to requests for information. We request for quotes. We request for proposals. We do executive briefings. We write thought leadership documents. We present at conferences. We present to executives. We negotiate business deals. We lead large teams of engineers and architects to design a solution to solve a customer's business problem. And we buy a lot of lunches, dinners, and drinks. I got to tell you that, because a lot of client entertainment. That's what we do as a cloud architect. And in many cases, you can't really put in a job description, here's your job. Take somebody to this establishment and go spend 10 grand on them and entertain them to make them happy. But we do a lot of that. Now, it's company money, but it's hard to put in a job description. Take this person to this institution to convince them they need to buy our solution. So that's what we really do. Design, present, and sell. And we sell a lot. So if you don't have a sales background, you're going to need sales training. That's why we put sales training in every program we have, right? Cloud architects and cloud engineers, because you got to sell yourself into getting hired. But in many cases, without the right sales, executive presence, communication skills, you won't be able to get that job in the first place. So that's why we put all that into our training, because you must have it. But now you know what we really do. My team posted the link to that article as well, so it's not just me. Cloud Architect, Abigail. Eddie Patrick, Cloud Architect. Please ask your questions, and if you just got here and you're having a good time, leave a like and subscribe and hit the bell so you'll be informed of new videos. Cloud Solutions Architect hired. I love this. On Twitch, no less, because we're now streaming on Twitch. And if keep your questions coming, yes. And if you want to help in our program, we currently have 30% off using coupon code Potential. Now, Chris, or somebody if you would ring in the next one. Hakeem, hey, Mike, in the future, will you provide CISSP courses? Hakeem, if you know us, we get people hired. And we get people Cloud Security Architect courses hired all the time. We focus on getting hired. Certification does not get anybody hired for a job ever. Certification says, here, you've completed requirements, but it doesn't mean anything. Do my students that are in my Cloud Architect career development pass the CISSP exam like it's nothing? Like they could do it while they're taking a nap from what we teach? The answer is yes. They buy the one book from IC2, they take our Cloud Architect career development program, and my people can pass the CISSP like it's nothing. Now, Hakeem, I spent 5 days preparing for the CISSP and passed it because it was nothing. Now, here's the thing. If your training is learn how to pass the certification, when you go on an interview, you're not going to be capable or qualified for anything. But if you decide to actually train and you learn where to put your content delivery network and what kind of DDoS protection goes on it, and you truly know how to integrate your next generation firewalls, and what do you need, one firewall or two, and are you using intrusion detection prevention systems? If so, what kind of are they? What's your strategy to protect your subnets, your hosts? What are you disabling on your services? What kind of, how do you harden your operating systems? What kind of endpoint of protection are you using, et cetera, et cetera? What's your patch management strategy? What's your encryption across the organization? What kind of security policy needs to be written? This stuff isn't covered in CISSP type exams. So we're never going to focus on just certifications ever. Everything we do is about getting someone hired, paid more, or promoted. We're not going to be a certification mill. Look, there's thousands of those people on the internet that have no idea what they're doing, that took a certification course and teach it. And here's what you hear. And I'll tell you why you hear this. You watch the PowerPoint slides with audio or the screen recording, you hear blah, 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 blah. And in the end, you don't know anything. So we say, build the house, build the foundation strong, use good concrete walls, fill those walls with fill your walls, the external walls with cinder blocks, steel rods, and cement. Inside of there, put some good insulation. Then have the electricians put in their electrical wiring, and then do the plumbing, and then put in the walls, and then put in your flooring and your cabinets. And after that, your certification is the paint job. So no, we're not going to be running CISSP courses. We create cloud security architects all the time, and our people get hired for them, even with no experience. But no, we are not a certification provider. It's against everything we believe in. We're all about building you and building your career, as opposed to just charging you for surface level knowledge that will not get you to any goals. That's why we don't just do certification courses. Why do I do some of them free on YouTube? Here's the reason. I don't want to see anybody waste their money on the courses that are out there. Now, you can buy a good certification course for $4,000 to $5,000, where it's taught by somebody that understands it. It's not caused by a hobbyist in their backyard that got 6 or 7 AWS certifications. They're like, woohoo! Now I'm certified. I can teach something I don't know anything about. We are basically making sure you can get the job and train you for the job, and we only teach what we need. And like Albert Einstein said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't know it well enough. And that's why these courses that you see that are focused on certification are all blah, 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 blah. Because what happens is a certification provider doesn't understand it. So they obfuscate the lack of knowledge through buzzwords, acronyms, and blah, 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 blah. So no, we're 100% focused on getting people hired. And why do we do anything certification-wise? Well, it helps people get the interview, which we love. And we don't want to see anybody have to take these really horrible courses that we found problematic. And that's why we give away our free cloud certification training. And then in our paid training, it's the stuff that we give people to get them hired and paid more. And our students earn more than everybody's, and our students get hired more than everybody. But that's the solid. Certifications is the exact opposite of what Jeremy Wright put in here. Jeremy Wright is here, almost has has it almost right, but completely opposite. Jeremy Wright says certification is like knowing your ABCs. No, certification doesn't teach you the fundamentals at all or anything you need to know. Certification is when you know the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. The certification is when you sing it, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, HIJKLMNOP. So the certification's like, after you already have the knowledge, you can put it together in a song. Nice packaging, but otherwise, it's nothing, nothing, nothing. It's not the foundations. It's not even the ABCs. It's window dressing. But if you don't have a window, window dressing is worthless. The knowledge is the window. The certification is purely window dressing. All it is. Almost there, Jeremy, but that's how bad the certifications are. Name of a service and how to configure it. Hey, wait, I'm an architect. They don't configure anything. And I can't use these silly names of services because they're proprietary and I can't use it with my customer exception. Great points, though. Up and up, you're a member of our program. Please explain more about a defensive security architect. Which certification should I get? Up and up. You guys keep asking the wrong questions. Which certification would I get? Which certification should I get? What you should do is the following. Learn security. So up and up, when you come to class and I ask you to design the security architectures, you tell me how to do it. Turn on your camera. And when I say, what do I need at the edge of the network? You tell me what. You ask the right questions and you say, well, it's a web app, so I should use a content delivery network. Now, how does the content delivery network help? And I want you to tell me, maybe it only forwards legitimate requests to the servers and it drops all else. The caching makes it a lot simpler, so it's less work on the server, which can protect against a DDoS attack. Additionally, we can use this DDoS protection, which does X, Y, Z for the company. And then after that, when I ask you, what's next? And you say, we need a firewall. And I said, what kind of firewall? And you ask the right questions. Well, do I need it to be adaptive or not adaptive? And I say, well, it needs to be self-healing. And you say, okay. Then I can't use any of those AWS Cloud Native things, but I can go to Palo Alto, I can go to Fortinet, etc., etc., etc. So that's what happens. Now, in the end, you'll be entertaining your clients, asking them what to do. So which certification will help show that you know it after you know it is the CISSP? But again, and that if you're in our program Up and Up, you should turn in a career development plan, and my team will go over it, exactly what's there. But no certification is going to get you anything other than an interview. So what is a defensive security architect? Who is the person that determines what kind of security policy needs to be there? Who is the person that determines the training and education needed of the user? This is the person that determines where the firewalls go, how many firewalls, what kind of firewalls, what kind of IDS, IPS systems they need. What's the demilitarized zones look like, and how do we architect them? What are we doing to protect each subnet? What are we doing to protect the server? What server hardening techniques do we want the engineers to carry out? What kind of identity and access management kind of encryption? What kind of encryption are we using? Encrypted storage, encrypted in transit. What kind of WAN technology are we using? Is the WAN good, or we need to put IPsec over the WAN, et cetera, et cetera? So, I mean, these are the kind of things that you need to do for the job. And then you've got to be used to talking to clients and asking the right questions and leading them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's your security architect job. Now, sure, get the CISSP in addition to one of the professional cloud certs, and you're going to look like a security architect. But you got to remember, certifications paint the appearance of something. It's an illusion. It's all smoke and mirrors with certifications. It's the knowledge in here that's what gets you hired. But the certifications will get you the interview. And for that, we don't like the CompTIA Security Plus at all. We recommend skipping that. We like the CISSP or the CCSP for architects, but we still prefer the CISSP because it's more generic and it's more big picture than the CCSP. Chris, let's go to the next one. Faraj Sheikh, experience of physical data centers helpful for cloud architect, knowledge of data centers and how they work. So here's the thing. If your knowledge of data centers is how to build them, how to tune them, how to optimize your virtual machine placement, how to optimize your load balancers for intelligent security performance, how and where the firewalls go, how and where to architect the storage, how do we tune the performance of block storage? Is it object storage we need? Is it file storage? What are we doing with those file servers, etc.? That knowledge is extremely beneficial to the cloud architect. Now, I don't know whether you want to be an engineer or whatever, or operations. It's pretty hard to understand. Now, if you want to be an architect and your knowledge is here, I configured a load balancer, here, I configure this, well, that's not valuable knowledge for the architect, because that's hands-on how to do, where we're all about how to design. We need, and the difference between do and design is as follows. When it comes to design, we need to understand everything and how it works, because you can't design something you don't understand. Which means for the architect to design a building, for example, they need to know about building structures. They need to know about wind variables, for example. They need to know about the weight of the building and the kind of density of the soil and the strength foundation. They need to know what can withstand a wind, what can withstand a hailstorm, a hurricane, an earthquake, etc. The architect knows that. Now, if the architect used to be a contractor and is an expert with a hammer and a screwdriver and a nail gun, that is completely useless skills for the architect. But so the key is, what did you do? So if all you did was configuration, it's not very transferable to the architect role, if that's what you want. Now, if all this time you've been doing configuration and engineering, and you want to do more engineering in the cloud, then yes, this is extremely valid. So it all depends on what the job is that you've done and what your actual goals are. So if you give me a little more information there, I can tell you, because it's all job dependent. It's all job dependent. So if you can tell me what you want to do, I can give you more specifics, but it may or may not be useful. And that's going to completely be 100% there. But one thing I will tell you is you must understand the network and the data center, and here's why. If you actually truly understand what is a virtual machine, then you know all clouds. It's kind of like driving a car. Now, if you understand what is object storage, again, you get it. So I want you to think about the ridiculousness of how people are learning clouds versus how you could do it the intelligent way. So I could teach you how to get in your Toyota and drive your Toyota, if that's the car you have. And then if you had a Ford, you'd get straight into the Ford and you'd be fine. Then you got into your brother's Mercedes and you could drive that car because you understand how to drive. This is fundamentals knowledge. Hey, wait, object storage, AWS, Amazon Simple Storage Solution, Microsoft Blob, Google Cloud Storage. I mean, this is insanity. Call it object storage, and we all know. So for us, learn object storage, and you know all the clouds, all of them. Just like you learn to drive one car, and you're there. Now, where do people get themselves confused? They get cuckoo for vendor-based funny marketing terms. Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, like this. So it used to be the cereal commercial. And they try to tell somebody, this is elastic, elastic, elastic. And here's the problem. They're only learning the name of the service, which is covered in certification. But they have no concept of what is object storage, how does object work, how to tune it, what it's used for. So now, when you go speak to the chief information officer, which you will constantly do as an architect, and you say, I got this elastic something, they laugh at you and escort you out the room and say, please leave, you're biased, I need somebody that knows technology. Now, if you walked into that customer and said, and used plain language, let's talk to you about your 3 petabytes of object storage and what we can do on the cloud, now you're having an honest conversation. They like you, they trust you, and now you're not playing marketing terms. You are a peer. You are a strategist that can help them. So you must know the cloud. Look, 87% of people are on 2 clouds, and 97% want to be within the end of 12 months. So there's no way you cannot know multiple clouds and actually function in today's world, which is, again, the reason why certification is goofy to me, because certification is a proprietary name that a vendor made up to try and hide what the technology is and how to configure that. But for an architect, for example, we don't configure it. So learn the tech, learn the cloud. I have all my students, whether they're cloud architects or cloud engineers, build the cloud from scratch. That's right. They design and build their own cloud. Here's why. Now they know what the cloud is. And when someone talks to them about block storage being fast, my students know, well, not really. Here's all the workarounds you got to do with block storage. And when someone says, hey, we've got this really cool WAF or Cloud Armor solution for you, you can look at it and say, it's very interesting in nature, but I need enterprise-grade features, functionality, and something that's much stronger, so I know not to use these features. And then that's the thing. So you must know all the clouds, all of them. But if you train right, you actually know all the clouds. Now, Faraj, if I told you that I've been working on the cloud since 1996, and the first cloud was Frame Relay, then there was the ISDN cloud around the same time I worked on, and then there was the ATM cloud around 1998, and around 2000, the BGP RFC 2547 cloud, And then around 2001, I worked on the VPLS cloud. And then I worked on the clouds, which were just included the data centers. It's all the same. And you really need to know the cloud, which is the network and the data center. Not how to configure the stuff with the proprietary terms, but what is it? When do we use a network load balancer and why? What's it do? When do we use an application load balancer? What's it for? Why do we use an ERP application? What benefits does the business that do? It doesn't matter. When do we use a relational database versus a NoSQL database, and how do we scale it? And what kind of databases work in most clouds, which I'm going to tell you, for example, are not covered in your certification because they're based on proprietary things. So learn the cloud. And if you truly understand the network and the data center and how to design them and how they operate, you already know the cloud. Only the names have changed at that point. Krishna, how you're working as a cloud engineer for an e-commerce company. You want to first for a solution for an architect role in the cloud. How should you get ready for that? Now, the first thing I need you to understand is that an architect and an engineer are about as different as a cat and a dog. Equally valuable, but completely different skills. Now, the engineering skills don't translate that very well to being an architect, just like the architect skills do not translate better to be an engineer. So, Krishna, when I've got cloud engineers, we have a lot of work to do with them to turn them into cloud architects. And here's the reason. Engineering by nature is very hands-on, very technical, and it forces you to be zoomed in, look into exactly what you need to do. So I want you to, or let's talk about the difference right now between engineering and architecture, so you understand the difference, and then you know how to transition. So I like to, so imagine right now you took a helicopter over, say, New York City, London, or any big city in the world, Miami, I don't care. Now, if you're in the helicopter 1,000 feet off the ground, what are you going to see? The whole city. And that's what an architect needs to do. They need to look at the whole city because they've got to see the big picture, and they got to be able to see these roads look like they're congested. We need bigger roads. Or wait, there's a lot of car accidents over here. Maybe this area needs some traffic lights. Go hire a team of people to put it in. They need to be flying high in that helicopter and looking at everything. That's what an architect does. Now, by comparison, the engineer needs to be deep, hands-on, and zoomed in. So for the engineer, we got to get them out of that helicopter. They got to parachute to the ground. And then they got to go hang out at a corner where they've noticed the most car accidents. And that engineer is focused on that corner. Do we delay the lights by this? Do we add a thing? Do we add a this? How do we stop the accidents in this quarter? Now, because that cloud engineer is so focused on that being there in that small spot, Krishna, they can't focus on the end-to-end big picture. So we have to do a couple of things with regards to engineers converting to architects, and I do it all the time. And when I do it, my cloud architects get extremely high pay because they've got good technical acumen and then they have the right things. So the first is to change the way of thinking, meaning you can't be the person who thinks about how to do one thing. You got to realize you're never going to touch the tech again as an architect, and you got to focus big picture. So because you've got to focus big picture, you now need to lead a team of about 50 engineers and architects to do anything, which means this is an executive job, which means you're going to need to develop extremely good leadership skills, extremely good sales skills, extremely good executive presence, extremely good emotional intelligence, etc. Now, the next thing, Krishna, is because we start with the CEO or the business executives and look at them and ask them about their business problems, could you tell me about what you're trying to achieve? For example, what's your business goals? What's your business pain points? What's on your financial statement? What are industry analysts telling you? What's on your balance sheet? And what are you trying to achieve? Now, Krishna, this means the architect needs extremely good business acumen, which you can get in an MBA program where you can take a course like ours where we teach it, but you won't need it in either case. Now, the next thing is you're going to have to sell to executives and present at conferences and make this really clear. So when you're presenting at a conference, you're going to have good presentation skills, the ability to captivate an audience. You're going to be down there. Krishna, you're going to be negotiating deals upwards of $1 billion, which means you're going to need good sales skills, good negotiation skills, etc., etc., etc. Then you have to remember you're an engineer, and nobody wants an engineer to be their architect, ever. Because they view the engineers as a hands-on techie, and they want the architect to be an executive that also knows tech. So now comes the scissors therapy of your resume. All the tech things that you've done in the past and all those acronyms, they've got to come off. So if you're writing a Python script, that's not valid. Now, if you wrote a Python script, right, design Python script which automated X, Y, Z, which saved this many hours of the employees, built this thing which increased sales by 11% because of X, Y, and Z, implemented a new communications and collaboration platform that increased collaborations by XYZ%, improved employee productivity by XYZ%, and decreased engineering defects by XYZ%. So we cloud architects are digital transformation specialists. So when you're engineers, you need to be able to show that you understand design and digital transformation. And then it's about showing that you're the leader with executive communication skills and really tune everything to show that you can solve customers' problems with technology. That's how you get ready for it. So you could take my course, you should be perfect, or you could do what I did, which was, do a master's in business. I spent, I took 15 leadership skills courses, managerial skill courses, executive presence courses, CXO relevancy. I don't know, it cost me about $250,000 to go from engineer to architect in terms of education. Or you could take my cloud architect career development program and you could be like one of my incredibly successful students. Or you could learn these things on your own and now you know exactly what they are. But they are not tech skills. They're all executive skills. And you're going to have to show the world, because let's say they view a cloud architect as a lion and they view the cloud engineer as a golden retriever. We've got two beautiful yellow animals with yellow fur, but they're very different. If somebody wants a pet lion, they're going to buy a pet lion. If they want a golden retriever, and trust me, I love golden retrievers, they're going to hire the golden retriever. So you've got to be what they want. And these are the expectations of the employees. Sophia, how can you get an internship after passing a solutions architect exam? You can't. If you're one of my students, we create specialty internships as part of the program. And here's why you can't. Sophia, when you finish the AWS Certified Solution Architect professionally, you know maybe 5% of what's necessary for the job. So how would I deal, Sophia, if I was running a company and had a volunteer AWS Certified Solutions Architect, the professional? First thing that I would do is I would have to teach them, which means I'd have to take a $300,000 a year employee and dedicate 50% of their time in order to train this intern. So it cost me an easy $150,000 to train them. Now, Sophia, basically what comes out of certification is the name of a service and how to configure that, which we architects don't do. So then I would need to send you to training. I would have to send you to business acumen training and leadership skills training and sales training and negotiation skills training and executive presence training. And again, that would either mean a team of my staff, or I'd have to spend $40,000 or $50,000 to do so. Now, the last part of this, Sophia, is as an architect, you design systems. But coming out of certification only, you don't know how to design anything, because certification is the name of the service and how to configure this. So, Sophia, if you were doing an internship, you could literally make a design error, somebody let you, and make a business go bankrupt, lose billions of dollars. So you can't get an internship for solution architect work. So the key becomes I don't know what job you're actually looking for. We have a weird internship program that we create for our students intentionally so they actually have real work experience when they're done, where our students do real things, where they design architectures. Our students work with, all the technology that makes it possible. My students, even in their architectures, actually, even their internships, even design and build their own clouds from scratch. I have some of my students that are co-authoring books with me, co-authoring articles with me, building training. For example, 50 of my students are working in our Cloud Heroes Africa project with my good friend Samoa Shang, and they're teaching in there so they can say they're getting involved. They're teaching things that we've taught them that they know how to do. So that's the kind of work you can do. But all in all, there are no internships for these kind of jobs because you're too dangerous coming straight out of certification. Now, if you knew the network and the data center, for example, then yeah, it would be fine. But certification is the name of the service and how to configure that service. Before I went to see how bad these certifications were, I interviewed 1,000 certified people, and I couldn't trust anybody enough to even turn them into an intern. Do we have a mentorship program? That is what our Cloud Architect Career Development Program, which is currently on sale at 30% off. Currently. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. We have one, and our students are getting hired almost every day. In fact, this morning we had a really good one. She never worked in tech in her life, and boy, this career was so big of an advancement for her. I'm so proud of her, and hopefully she'll even be willing to come online and talk to you guys, like Daniel Delroy Bat was, and Daniel Bosu, and Romanik Ivan Townsend. I've got so many people that have gotten hired each day, and we love them. No background, good background, it doesn't matter. We're getting them hired. It's just as long as they do the work. As long as they do the work. So if you'd like us to work with you, take our Cloud Architect Career Development Program, the live one, where we can meet you and give you some of these internship opportunities, and use coupon code potential. My team will post a link to that course and the 30% off coupon code. Dylan Williams, great question. Where does one usually find positions for cloud or enterprise architects? Are they consulting companies, tech giants, or everybody? So big retailers need them. Internet service providers need them. Cloud computing companies need them. Big four consulting companies need them. Big banks need them and hire a lot of our students. Networking companies like Cisco also have a cloud. Airlines have their own clouds, like American Airlines has their own OpenStack cloud. Verizon has their own cloud. So if you wanted to deal with a global retailer like Target, they need cloud. If you deal with a social media company, they need cloud. So pretty much everybody hires cloud architects. Everybody. Now, what you do them in is slightly different. If you're in and 99% of all our solution architects and cloud architects, I should say 90 are pre-sales, which means you're designing, presenting, and selling. Now, what happens if you work in a bank? What are you doing? You're still designing, presenting, and selling, but it's a little different. See, normally you'd come in, you'd say you work for AWS or Cisco or Google or Microsoft, and the company would call you and say, hey, we want to migrate to the cloud, come talk to us. And you'd go talk to the executives. And then after you spoke to the executives, what would ultimately happen is you'd go back to your company and you'd build a team of engineers and architects to design the solution together. After you design it, you would write it up, you'd present it back to the customers, and you'd sell it to them, and then you negotiate a deal. Now, that's what we do when we work pre-sales. Now, let's say you're like one of my students that works for a bank, because I've got a lot of students working in a global bank. Now, what do? Well, they still ask the company's executives, what are you trying to achieve? They then bring in the engineers to help baseline the systems and collect information. They then collaborate with the engineers and architects to build the design, and then they present it back to the design. And it's going to always be a multi-cloud design. And then they're going to present it back to the chief information officer, the CEO, the CFO, the VPs of IT. And they're going to say, here's what you need and why you need it. And if they build a compelling audience, the customer is going to say, go ahead and do it, Dylan. And then they're going to hand it over to the engineering team to go build it. So it's really the same thing. This is a consulting job, any way you put it. You know, it's funny. I've got a lot of graduates recently. And by graduates, I mean people that are hired, because we let people stay in our program for up to a year until they're hired. Certification is not an endpoint. It's nothing. It's a piece of paper. Here's a meaningless piece of paper. Here, you're hired. What's the difference? I mean, so we get people hired. But, you know, there's that. And yeah, people get pieces of paper too, but our concern is getting them hired, not just having a piece of paper that you can hang up on the wall. I want to change my people's lives. And all my students say, you changed my life. And that's what we do. So now you know what we do. We design, we present, and we sell. And we work everywhere. Anybody that's interested in using technology to improve their business performance, which is everybody for the last 50 years, hires architects. Angelica, do you need a sales background? Well, we teach sales, so we have lots of students that don't have a sales background, and we teach them. But it's like anything else. You must learn the skills for the job. So Angelica, 25 years ago, I used to practice internal medicine. Now, when I started with internal medicine, I didn't know anything about healthcare, like zero. I went to school, they taught me, and I knew medicine. And then I decided I like tech. So I learned, and I got it. So none of us start born nothing. I mean, my kitten, when it was born, at least I'm assuming when I adopted it, was pretty smart. It knew how to drink water, use its litter box, you know, kind of eat what to eat on its own. But humans like us, we're born with zero instincts. Everything we learn is taught. We don't even know how to find food as a baby. I mean, literally nothing. So Everything we humans learn is taught, and we can do anything. Angelica, you can do anything, literally anything. All you got to do is put your mind to it, build the right plan, and execute on the plan, and keep going on that plan until you win, and you'll win. My students do it every day, and you can too. That's the secret to success in any career. And program management as a background is much better than, software engineering, for example, because at least in program management, you're herding cats, so to speak, and there's a little bit of leadership. So that's even better. It's a good background. And Alonso from my team comes from a program management background, and he's a fantastic architect as well. So good, I had to hire him when he's part of my team. Matthew, you enjoy to edit and create. I want to help others as I learn more as I progress through my schooling. As of now, you have no certification in CI Tech. Are you able to help? Well, Matthew, I don't know what you mean by edit and create, because they're kind of the exact opposite. And a creator builds something and an editor tunes it. So they're kind of the opposite. So, and even when it comes to video, I may film my video, but I hand it to an editor to do the editing. It's not the same thing. Now, a hobbyist, like a hobbyist YouTuber, might make their video and create it until they become successful enough to not do that. So you want to help others as you progress through your schooling. Matthew, you can't help others until you know something. And if you're still in schooling, you don't know what you know, and you don't know what you don't know. So any help that you try to provide may actually be hurting people because you don't know what you know and know what you don't know. So what I would tell you to do is become good at your job. Really master the skills of your career, whatever that chosen career is. Learn that career. Get a minimum of 10,000 hours experience in that year, which is only 5 years if you're doing it full time. And then help others create. But, I see it every day. I just passed a certification. I'm going to create a course. Now, what happens is when somebody does that, they don't know what they know. They don't know what they don't know. And in the end, they can't help anybody. So, Matthew, get yourself solid. Get yourself secure. Make yourself successful first, and then help others. It's kind of like when you're in an airplane and the pilot says, look, in the event we lose cabin pressure, put the mask on yourself before you put it on somebody else, because what happens is you're hypoxic without oxygen. And instead of trying to help somebody else, you're going to start punching them, because that's what happens when you're not able to take care of yourself. So the same thing happens with medicine. I don't want a student doctor practicing medicine. The student doctor will kill people. I also don't want certification providers trying to do coaching, because they don't even know what they don't know, because they're not coaches. And again, they'll tell you, do a sysops, do a DevOps, do a cloud developer. In the end, you spent a year or two, wasted your time, can't get hired. And then someone like me has to erase all those skills from the resume and then teach all brand new skills after the person wasted 2 years of their time and lost the equivalent of $300,000. So Matthew, I love that you want to help people. I love it. I love it. But first, learn your career. Become an expert at what you do. And then when you're an expert, you can help people. But until now, you don't even know what you know or don't know what you don't know. So reality is that you're going to be guiding people in all crazy directions. And I see that a lot if I go to a Reddit page, for example. All the people that are still working on their certifications that haven't learned the training, they're trying to give each other guidance. And in the end, it's all incorrect guidance because they've never had that job. So if I wanted somebody to teach me how to fly a plane, I'm going to ask an airplane pilot. But until you're an airplane pilot or someone's an airplane pilot, they don't know how to teach me how to fly the plane. So master your skills, become great at it, then develop your communication skills, your leadership skills, your executive presence. And here's the reason why. Hi, my name is Michael Gibbs, and I'm a cloud architect. You're not going to listen to me. Hi, I'm Michael Gibbs, and I'm a cloud architect. I didn't change much, but I changed the pace, the tone. There were some pauses in there. And that added the executive presence that made me credible. So the key is master your skills, improve your communication skills, build your leadership skills, build your executive presence, and then do it. But wait till you actually have something to teach. Then you'll be great. James Foreman. Is cloud networking, VPC, subnets, and routes basically the same no matter what cloud? James Foreman, it's the same stuff that's from 1985 to 2000. Nothing's new. In fact, tomorrow night when I bring in Imran around, we're going to talk about the history. Now, I want you to know how primitive cloud networking is compared to the stuff we cloud engineers and network engineers and architects are doing. So literally speaking, a couple of weeks ago, I saw a principal architect at AWS who clearly didn't know networking. And he said, incredible news. Made a big post about it. AWS now allows IPsec over direct connections. And the thing had like 400 likes. And I looked at it and went, they can't be claiming victory over this. Cisco did this in 1998. So what did I do? I saw this press release. I got on the phone. I called this network architect, and what do you think? And they're like, 1998 wants its technology back yet. So I called another network architect, and I said, hey, wait, would you see this? I did. 1999 wants its technology background. And then I called another network architect, and they said, I did this in 1999 a little, but I really did it a lot in 2000 to 2001. And I said, okay. And I called another network architect, and they're like this. So to put it into context, that's Cisco in 1998. Now, James, last year, AWS talked about east-west routing, which is, again, a fancy term for routing between subnets. Brand new, a year ago. How old is it? Well, in 1985, Cisco was actually doing this. So when it comes to cloud networking, it's all basic. The cloud, none of the clouds are even closer. AWS's newest press release. Look at the VPC flow logs through Transit Gateway, which is great. Of course, Cisco had NetFlow back in 2000 that gave us the identical information about the source and destination of our flows, et cetera, et cetera. It's not new, it's all old. So all of it, subnetting, classless interdomain routing, where to route, transitive routing, non-transitive routing, that all comes from BGP and IBGP. Connecting to them via BGP is 30, 40-year-old technology that I've been playing with for decades. I mean, it's all the same. Now, sure, Azure calls theirs a VNet, and AWS calls their virtual data center a VPC, but it's the same thing. So if you know the tech, James, you know all the clouds. Now, if you just take the AWS Advanced Networking, and I may teach another AWS Advanced Networking course soon. Now, I won't teach the AWS Advanced Networking course the way AWS would teach it, because they'll teach it as an intro to 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 junior level networking, and it will skip the BGP and the IP addressing, et cetera. I may teach another one, and I do it periodically because I like to use it as an intro to networking. And when I teach it full of BGP and full of routing information. And that way the student, when they know it, they get a fundamental of the networking and they understand enough networking to do something. But that's our version of it. And if there's a big desire, we can do another AWS Advanced Networking one. But I promise you like this, it's not going to be a basic course. It's going to be something that gives people the skills to understand networking, because I want them to understand networking. Because what's the cloud? Nothing more than a network in a data center that's been virtualized, and it's all pretty much the same. I'm a web developer before with 9 years work experience and want to shift your career. How do you decide to choose a path based upon your previous work experience? There are so many roles in the cloud, and it's so confusing. Pavan, don't choose a role based upon your previous work experience. Now, Pavan, if I asked you, how would you start your day based upon what you had for dinner yesterday? You would say, what does that have to do with anything? Every day is a chance for a new opportunity. Pavan, what would you like to do? That determines what you can do. Pavan, I have a high school dropout that's working at JP Morgan Chase as a cloud architect, and they love him because he's smart, capable, knowledgeable, and can do anything. I've got people that were hired by AWS with zero work experience that were working as a waiter, serving food to people. And AWS not only liked the person so much that the person said, I know it's January and you want to hire me now, but I graduated college in May. Would you wait for me to finish? And AWS waited for him because they loved them so much. Last week, we had Delroy Bad online. He has an associate's degree, and he came to us with no background, and now he's working as a cloud security architect. So, Pavan, I ask you the same question. What would you like to be? What would you like to be? I used to practice internal medicine, and my next job as a senior network architect, I'm a senior network engineer. Within 6 months, I was the lead architect of the team of the world's largest ISP. So it's not what you've done in the past. That's the wrong thinking. What would you like to do in the future? If you woke up today and said, what would you like to do? And you told me that would be the plan. Your background has nothing to do with it. Because right now, a web developer, if you're a web developer, if you're truly focusing on your background, here's your new job on the cloud. You're a web developer. Every other skill is going to need training. And guess what? That's okay. Get your training, and then you could progress to any roles you want. So the key is, what would you like to do? Do you want to design, present, and sell? Then you're a cloud architect. Do you want to build stuff on the cloud? Then you're a cloud engineer. Do you want to automate on the cloud and do infrastructure as code? Then you're a DevOps engineer. Do you want to develop websites? Then you're still a web developer. You're just working on the cloud. I could go on and go on and go on. What do you want to do? That determines what you do, not what you've done in the past. That has nothing to do with your future. What I ate last night for dinner, and it was pretty bad last night for dinner because, I didn't feel like cooking. I was really tired. I ate Chinese food, and I don't eat grains, dairy, or anything fried, but I had an egg roll. I really did. I had an egg roll. I really spurged. So here's the thing. When I woke up this morning, I don't feel quite as good as usual. So what did I do? I heated my yoga room to 130 degrees. I practiced yoga in my yoga room. I went into my 150-degree sauna and stretched out in there when I was done for about an hour. And now I feel great. And I forgot that I ate that egg roll last night because it was irrelevant to me today. I burned it up and it's gone and it's a new day. So anything you want to do, you can do. Just figure out what you'd like to do. Almighty, you learned your Security Plus certification is going to expire. Good. Should I renew it? Al, I probably would have told you to take it off your resume anyway, so don't renew it. It's not something that's going to help you get hired with anything or show anything whatsoever. Now, Almighty, I know you're a great architect. If you wanted to do cloud security, I would get a CISSP. I don't recommend CompTIA certifications for any reason. Look, I don't have anything against CompTIA. I think CompTIA certifications ask good questions. I think the knowledge contained in them is fine. But here's the thing. I look at what CIOs tell me they want. I ask hiring managers what they tell me they want. And Best Buy likes A+, Net+, and Help Desk does. No, but there's no other jobs with that. Security Plus, actually, believe it or not, if you want to work for the U.S. government, is very valuable because they pay less compared to enterprise businesses. But if you want to go work for a big security company or a bank, I would almost tell you to remove it from your resume. We've had to remove it from other people's that were struggling to get hired. Chris, we addressed this one already. Oh, wait, hold on. Go back, Chris. And Mike, is cloud networking the same, basically all no matter? So which cloud should you choose to learn? Do you use AWS, Azure, or Google? You learn the cloud and not any cloud provider. Now you should get certified. James, I want you to truly understand this. How many certifications did you get to drive a car? Did you need a special one? I mean, your sister's got a Mercedes. Your brother's got a BMW. You got a buddy that's got a Ford Escape or a Ford Explorer. You got another person that's got a Chevy Suburban. You got another one that's got a Toyota. Do you need special training? Of course you don't. Now, if you went, I'm going to take a certification course for the Toyota, they'd look at you like you had four heads because it's insanity. Now, let's look at what these certifications are. Here's the ridiculous name we made up. And here's how to configure it. Okay, so think about this. Instead of talking object storage, which is AWS S3, Microsoft Blob, and Google Cloud Storage, or instead of talking a virtual machine, for example, which is the same if it's in a Citrix Xen environment, VMware ESXi environment, KVM or QEM environment, a Google Compute Engine instance, an Azure virtual machine, an Oracle virtual machine, or an AWS EC2 instance, it's the same thing. So if you learn what that virtual machine is, you know all the clouds. So learn to drive a car. And imagine the stupidity of trying to learn this car. This is the elastic rotational vector angular changer. Now, somebody else had cloud-based minute of angle changer, and somebody else had steering wheel. Now, here's the thing. If you learned it like that and never learned what they were, you're going to be lost forever. What's a person to do? Oh, my God. But if you learn this is a steering wheel, go this way and it goes left, go this way, it goes right, but except in reverse, do the opposite. Now you can drive any car. So figure out, learn the cloud, learn the network and the data so know exactly what it is, and then pick any one of these certification vendors you want to use. If Azure is free, sure, do Azure. If AWS is what the one you like to take, do it. Just get one professional certification on your resume from one of them, but learn the cloud. Again, the certification is nothing more than the icing on the cake. Build the cake, and the cake is the same on all clouds for 99% of everything. Noah Parker, can you help me understand the difference between a pre-sale solution architect versus a solution architect? It's the same job. There is no difference. A solution architect designs, presents, and sells. And 90% of us plus work in pre-sales. Now, if you were a post-sales architect, you're going to do the same job. It's still designing, presenting, and selling. But in this case, instead of working for somebody trying to sell the solution to the executives, you work for the company, and then you ask the executives what they want. And then from there, you ask the engineers to baseline the systems. From there, you make an assessment, build a plan, and then draw up your plan, make a version for the executives, a version for the managers, a version for the technical people, and you got to go present your plan to the manager. And then guess what? Same thing you do. So all architects are pre-sales in some way, shape, or form. Either we work pre-sales for a company that's designed to sell it, or we're post-sales working for a company and we still design, present, and sell the technology. We just don't get paid commissions. And we usually get paid less because we're not technically on sales. But no matter what, it's the same job. Good question, though. Viraj, what is the best path to learn cloud computing and how much dedication is needed reading, hands-on labs, and certifications? Viraj, it depends on the job. Architects, hands-on has nothing to do with us. It's not relevant. Engineers, it's all about being hands-on. Architects, too many certifications keeps you from getting hired. Engineers, 2 or 3 make you look good. 3 or 4, up to 4 could make you look good. What's the reading? The reading is different for an engineer that needs to learn configuration versus an architect that needs to learn how it works. I'm going to tell you this, Viraj. All these jobs take dedication. A lot of it. For example, the cloud's much easier. I read 75,000 pages of reading just to pass my CCIE, which I believe is an intro to networking. Because after that, that's when I got to learn networking. But, how much dedication? A lot. If you don't care and you're not dedicated, do something else. Don't even bother. I mean, when people ask me, they say, Mike, what's the work-life balance? I say, unless you want to say, do you want fries with that? Would you like fries with that? There's not going to be a work-life balance. When people pay you a couple $100,000 a year, they've got some expectations of you that when you call, they're there, that you care about your customers and you care about the company. So a lot of dedication. Look, we're close to 100% success rate at getting our people 6-figure jobs, assuming they do all the required work, they do all the assignments, they follow everything we say to the letter and do what we tell them, because we know exactly what employers are looking for. But not everybody does that. I have plenty of students that buy the course and don't do the work, and they say, Mike, what should I do? And I say, do the course. Be dedicated to the course. Be dedicated to your job. So, there is that. And that's why we're in great shape. And that's why you can do what we do. So you have to tell me what you want, but none of these are going to come without dedication. They all require significant dedication. Do you guys have internships for military veterans? Active duty. So DVN, I want to let you know what we did. So DVN, we're very familiar with the SkillBridge programs. And the reality is we're taking people that have spent a year or more in these SkillBridge programs, and then we're teaching them what they need to do to use the job. So DVN, this is such an important topic to me. We actually have a veterans program that we created. And it's created on the following tenets. So it's built upon the success of our Cloud Architect Career Development Program, because we're getting students hired every day, and almost never do we ever have a job or a person that gets less than 6 figures as a graduate. And we've got students graduating with $300,000 jobs all the time too. So our average graduate's between $100,000 and $300,000, but usually midway point is where we're at. Nobody separating to the military should not have a 6-figure job waiting for them. Everybody should have a 6-figure job waiting for this. And if you send them an email to info@gocloudcareers.net, we can really help you with that. We can have one of our veterans reach out to you and connect you and really show you how we're helping you. So what do you need to do differently about it as a veteran than a civilian? And here's what we do. Our technical training is identical between veterans and civilians because it's the same. But what needs to be different is as follows. So I can say right now to Abigail Marks on the other end of this, who works for me, Abigail, meet me at 4 p.m. And she's going to say, Roger that. And I can do that. And I could do that probably as often as I wanted. And she'd say, yes, sir. How fast? And she wouldn't be miserable. Now, if I go to, and I could probably do that with maybe Alonzo on my team. He knows that philosophy as well. The command and control military leadership. Now, if I went to my chief operating officer, Chris, you need to do this right now. He'd say, rah, rah. And 3 weeks later, he'd be working somewhere else. And I can't afford to lose Chris because he's too valuable. So when you're transitioning people from military to civilian world, we need to work on the leadership styles. Command and control is great in an emergency, but it doesn't work well. We need to use something more affiliative or more directive or more this. So no matter what you need to do, you need to show the employer that you've relearned leadership skills. Now, the other things that we do when we do different, when we train our people, is we have a different level of, I call it self-healing, emotional control. So emotional intelligence, and we're really experts here. And this is one of the reasons our students get paid more and get hired so frequently, is our emotional intelligence background, which emotional intelligence is the ability to manage your emotions as well as somebody else's emotions. Your emotions versus somebody else's emotions. So when you're dealing with that, part of that comes from, the normal things we teach, like Daniel Goldman would teach, but also how do you manage your emotions? So right now, SEAL teams are using the following: box breathing, which we integrate, which is, you may have done in your life, they call it tactical breathing. We also use other forms of pranayama breathing coming from yoga. I heard some yoga experts who are also PTSD experts that basically do some meditation flows to improve our warriors. So we can actually learn how to better control our emotions and manage other emotions. And let's face it, any of us who have carried a ruck for 20 kilometers a day, or have done a lot of hand-to-hand combat, or have worked out till we've thrown up day in and day out for years and years. We also have some physical trauma, so we try and treat that with some of the things that are in there. So DVN, we've got a great program for veterans. I mean, it's truly incredible. And you can see it, it's our Heroes program. We offer veterans 50% off of that Heroes program because it's a very special program. And if you've got any questions, you can send an email to info@goldcloudcareers.net, and we will happily have one of our veteran specialists that will reach out to you, because we can help you. And we do things, and we have internships created through that, with that. And, if you're in one of our programs, you can be co-authoring books with us in this program to show that you're there. You could be helping teaching courses and communities that need the help. And may not be a direct action mission, which you may be used to, but it'll still be a helping mission. And the veterans are there to help the world. So where's that? So DVN, we would love to help you, but most importantly, thank you for your service. I mean, we owe our freedom to you. I'm grateful for everything that you've done. And if I can help you in any way, please let me know. Again, thank you for your service. Jeremy Wright, is the career development program without the live classes just as good as the program with the live? No. I mean, it's the same content, so you can get hired either way, but no, there's no comparison between being in class and me actually asking you questions live on class and part of the architecture class, and having you on the fly try to convince me I need it and present it to me. And I can't do that in the non-live version. Now in the live version, I get to know you guys. So when a recruiter calls me, which they do every day, and they say, Mike, I need somebody, I can say, Jeremy Wright, I know him. I've seen him in class. He's designed this, and he's the right one you need to talk to. I can't do that if I don't know you, not because I don't want to. And you'll still get hired without me because you'll have the right resume training, you know what to do, and you'll have the right skills. But I can't give somebody a reference that I don't know. It's just not fair or ethical. So that's specifically better to come into the real class. Both programs are excellent, but being in class and having the ability to answer questions live in class is much better. Now, if you're not in the live class, you're still not lost. I mean, what'll happen is you'll do a project and you'll turn it in for feedback, and we'll grade you on it. So we get to know you a little bit. And if you have problems, you'll send a message via Slack and you'll get support. So you're never going to be on your alone. It's not like a certification course where you just do something, and if you're lost, the heck with it. There's always going to be people to help you in both programs. But I've got to tell you, I prefer the live program. I created the non-live program for the following reason. I work with a lot of people all over the world, some truly amazing people. And I work with people in countries where they earn $100 a month or $200 a month. And I wanted to be able to create a program that could change lives there too. And that was why I created the non-live version of the program for people that really couldn't afford the training, that we could run as cheap as we possibly could afford to do it, basically at our cost, which we run most of our courses, just to help people become more successful and build better lives. So I'm always going to tell you I prefer the live, but I believe you'll be successful in either case. It's just, it's just the level of service in the live class. I think group coaching is better than being on your own and then having to use Slack and having to watch replays of the classes. But they're both excellent programs. I can't say anything bad about either. I know you would do well in any program. It's just a matter of there. I just want you getting hired, and that's all that matters to me. See you, but hello, Chris, Mike, and Go Cloud Architect team. Zia here from London. Can you please do a video on cloud migration? Zia, but that's what we teach in our program. How to migrate, how to design, how to be an architect. So that's specific to our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. That's what we do. That's our main business. Can't give that away. Christian, go to the next one. James T., I joined your program for cloud architecture coming from an IT background. Project or a mess, the parts are getting hard. Is this the same for cloud architecture? James T., no. We design, present, and sell. So you will have to show digital transformation of your customers, or we're going to have to help you with it. You're going to have to be able to explain design. I came from an IT background, and I never told anybody at a project and got hired. It didn't matter. What got me hired is when someone asks you a question. For example, let's say that you're talking about networking, and you say, and I ask you to tell me about what areas exist in OSPF. Now, when someone says, area, oh, there's area 0. And I say, what kind of LSAs exist in there? And they go, blah, 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 blah. I ask them for projects. Now, if I asked you the same question, James, and I've done this, and this is why I've never been asked for projects in 20 years. Now, James, I've never been on an interview for which I've never gotten a job offer, ever, ever. Now, if you asked me the same question on an interview and I said, well, OSPF is a link state routing protocol. It works by all routers sending information about their links, and then a shortest path first calculation is run. Now, let's talk about the area 0 or the backbone. The area 0, which is the backbone, is the area which has your highest performance routers. Now, these routers need to have the most intelligence. So in area 0, we will have the following. We will have our routers that actually have type 1 LSAs, which are generated by every link in the network. We will also have type 2 LSAs, which are generated by the designated router. Now, we also will have type 3 LSAs, which are really information that's been received from external areas, such as area 2, area 3, or 4, what have you. When their routing information touches area 0, it becomes a type 3 or a summary LSA. Now, we also have a type 4 and type 5 LSA, or link state advertisement in OSPF, and let's talk about what they are. If you redistribute or learn a route from an external protocol, such as BGP or EIGRP, it will be considered as an external type route, which is a type 5 LSA. But you also may want to know how to reach that router that is that autonomous system border router, which is where you connect to the other entities. And that's your type 4 LSA, which gives you ASDR reachability. Let's talk about how we tune and optimize. Then, James, you don't get asked for projects. So what happens is, if you appear competent, if you're knowledgeable and can make it clear, that's when, now, James T., if you can't, tell me about your coding, tell me about your configuring, tell me about your this, and it will go down a rat hole really fast and they can't hire you. This is not a project-based anything. This is about how to be the best, how to be great, how to design, present, and sell. And then, James, you will do completely well in your architect career. But you've got to have the skills that they want. I'm going to tell you right now, most people train engineering and then they go on an architect job, and the architect hiring manager is like, I can't hire you. So no, it has nothing to do with this. Nothing to do with that. It's not about projects. Now, James T., it will look good on your resume when you said you've designed and built an OpenStack cloud for enterprise-wide computing. Yeah, that's a cool project to talk about. Yeah, you will. When you deal with server virtualization for enterprise-wide computing, because you're really trying to show network and data center skills. But mostly, it's about how you present yourself. On an interview, you will always be giving a presentation. Most of these jobs you have to present, but you're never going to be asked to code or configure or touch the tech, because that's not what we do. So do the work, follow our instructions, and you should have a great, great job at the end of our program. Transform and rollout. You have a business system background focusing on manufacturing and recently joined project management. There is an opportunity at work for you to move into cloud architect role. As an architect, on the architectural plan smart factory. Any tips on convincing your IT director that you can transition your skills to a cloud architect role? Well, I don't really know what your skills are. Go back to the first one, Chris, real quick. You said business system background. So what is that? Are you setting the strategy for an organization? Are you presenting at global conferences? Are you doing ROI modeling, where you're looking at the value of the solution, compared the business value compared to its cost? Are you doing business process engineering? Are you leading large teams of people? Are you involved in sales? I don't know what you're doing. If you tell me what you're doing, then I can tell you how you can translate it into a cloud architect role, but I have no idea what you're doing. Business background is about saying I've got a networking background. I know people that have been working in networking for 30 years, and there's 50 different jobs you can do in networking. So you've got to tell me what you want to do, and then I can tell you. James T. There are several soft skills needed to be successful in cloud architecture. Can you share the resources you recommend for improving the public speaking at a high level? James T., if you're in our course, please do the work in our course. We cover this in our course. I'm going to recommend you do our course. So please follow the course that you actually purchased, and all of this is included. But please do the course in order. There's a structure for it. There's a reason we don't put your resumes in until the end, because you're going to get hammered by hiring managers and recruiters, etc. Once you do your resume. So we do it in order. So by the time you're there. Now, James T., the first thing and one of the first assignments is to tell me about yourself video. We are going to be looking at your public speaking there. We're going to be looking for your gravitas or executive presence. We're going to be looking for your body language and communication skills and giving you tuning things. And it goes on and on again. And when you come to the live classes, we'll make you present the technology and give you feedback. So please do the work in the program exactly as it's designed. Stay inside the program. Don't go looking for resources, because what we do gets people hired. Now, I'll tell you who doesn't get hired, James. People that don't follow the directions. They think they understand the job, and they go here, 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 and here. They're the people I struggle with. So please follow the course. Follow the course exactly in the order of the course, and you're going to be good to go. Since you said you purchased it, and I want you to be successful, please do the course. Chris, can we get to the last question by Doobie? Because it's pretty important. Why we don't put out a video every single time somebody gets a job.
It hasn't come in on this side.
It's 2 from the bottom when I look in the window.
Yes. Okay. You didn't say the first name, so I was looking.
Hey, Mike, why don't you put out a dashboard of all the payments that have joined, have gotten there? So, Doobie, when I practiced internal medicine, I didn't come home to my wife and say, treated this sinus infection, treated this high blood pressure patient, treated this diabetic, treated this. I can't make a video for doing my job. Now, I do know Chris on my team does try to take a small percentage of them and make videos. We usually make videos of the ones that are hard to get hired, such as the Delroy Batts of the world that never worked in tech before in his life, or the Daniel Boses who never worked in tech and didn't graduate high school that have now gotten good jobs. And I also sprinkle them through with geologists. So we do capture some of them. But, a lot of companies won't even let us talk about it with some of our graduates. And some people are pretty private because they don't want to know what people have. It's a publicity thing. So I can't basically take credit every day and say, hey, I did my job. I got somebody hired. I did my job and got somebody hired. That's just my job. That's what my team does. If you went to a restaurant where they put out a video, customer enjoyed their dinner. Or when a patient went to the hospital, do you think they put out a video that said the patient didn't die? They actually got better like the hospital was supposed to. So
I'd like to chime in here too. I mean, it's just it's more than that. It's just logistics. Like if there's 10 people that get hired, only 2 of them are able
to
do it. They literally, are unable, by the agreements that they agree to when they take their employment, to speak publicly regarding anything. There's so we'd love to be able to do it for every single one, but I mean, you could ask people at our program. We make announcements like today. We got someone that was cloud hired, but we can't say it.
Yeah.
we can't, like, they can say it.
Exactly.
They can say what happened, and they might be able to do their own live stream, but they're restricted in being able to go on another platform and discuss something because of some agreement that their employer makes them do. So that's one that is the primary reason why we don't have more. It's because people's hands are tied. Which, I mean, for $175,000 a year, I'll say I won't talk to anybody. You know.
And that's the thing. So that's Chris, my chief operating officer, that makes the budget or that makes the videos. So he's the one reaching out to people and talk to them. I just assume somebody gets hired. I have a celebratory party dance. I tell Chris, Alonzo, and the other people on my team that I know care, and then that's it. I go to the next one after I've celebrated.
Now I'm reading the actual question here. Hey, Mike, why don't you put out a dashboard with all the placements that joined students have got? Now, what I can do, that's actually a good idea, is without any connection. Like we could definitely do a dashboard of the companies
internally
with no connection to names. That's what I'm saying. Like we can list the companies for sure. That's actually a great idea. But we cannot do, unless they're one of our videos that we've done, we can't make any connections. But that's part of that's a good idea that we can definitely do. And I like it. It's great.
But I don't. It's a great idea.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. How many questions you have there? I can tell you the last question. What's that?
I got a lot of questions.
Okay, then I'll let you go to the questions in order, because the last question is exactly the difference of an engineer and an architect, and why business acumen is so critical.
Yeah. So we got lots of questions.
Okay.
There was a question about private tutoring sessions.
Okay.
And I answered in the chat box earlier that we don't have a private program, but we got one-on-one consultations. I'm trying to find the question, but
we actually have one that does allow people to actually ask a lot more questions, but the price was sky high.
Yeah. There you go. It's an
Marvin, how much is your private tutor course? Marvin, we don't have a private tutor course for this reason. It would be prohibitively expensive. We're running a $50,000 course, which we're able to charge $700 with the current sale, and doing that by using extremely good technology. We run off of our own cloud, for example. That saves us a fortune over using other people's clouds. I've got everything, as much tech automated, and I've got a team of the best and brightest that is obsessed with getting my students hired. We do have a $20,000 version of the same course where someone's allowed to call and speak to the member of the team twice per week for 16 weeks. But, nobody needs that, Marvin. Nobody needs that at all. And that's why we don't even publish it unless somebody asks, because it's so not needed. We're getting people hired with this. Now, if somebody wants to call me and book a session, my God, I don't know how many weeks it's in advance, at $400 an hour. The people are literally knocking down the doors trying to schedule them with me, and I don't even have the time to do them. So, I can schedule them 6 weeks out for the $400 an hour consulting sessions. And actually, I'm getting another version of that at a lower price for my students. Now, students in our career development program get a big discount on that. But again, they don't need it. My students are getting hired every single day through our actual group mentoring program. That's why I created it, because I didn't want anybody to have to spend a fortune. I spent, when I started my tech career, I'm like, oh my God, I took a $5,000 MCSE boot camp and an $11,000 CCNP boot camp. And when I was done, I got nothing. You'll have him, when you heard Daniel Bosa come in, he took some kind of course that was supposed to help him level up and get a career in tech. He spent $35,000 for a worthless certification. And when he was done and he came to us and he called me and he said, Mike, I want to work on cloud. Here's what I have. What can I do with it? And I said, honestly, Daniel, nothing. And he was so heartbroken that we found a way to He actually won a contest, so we got a free scholarship. And 8 months later, he's now a very great cloud architect working at JP Morgan Chase Bank. And we can say that because he's allowed to. But that's really the key. We're about getting people the jobs they want at the lowest cost possible. Because if an average cloud architect earns $600 a day and a good one earns, $1,200 plus easily, and we're running a code right now with a 30% discount using coupon code potential, which means it's $700. That's what a person earns in a single day. And that's why I created a group program, because I don't need to work. I mean, I don't. So I created a program that basically we can offer at the cheapest price possible to get people hired and build their best lives. And every day, when I'm here, it's great. And that's why I do what I do. With disaster. Hi, Mike, with no prior tech background. How long does it take the average person to complete your architecture program? About 8 to 10 months of hard work. But my students do it all the time. But it's a good 8 to 10 months of hard work. It's a good 500 hours of training. And it's hard, but you can do it. And my students do it every single day. But, it's not, don't come to class and just take it easy. You bought Mike's course. No. You bought a course and it's got everything you need in it, from multi-cloud architectures to security to enterprise-grade networking to design, implementation, sales, executive communication, negotiating business deals, negotiating higher salaries, interviewing, building your resume. Exactly. That's what it takes. And I'll give you a reason why we have to teach this, because people that come from an engineering background are going to say, hey, Mike, customer doesn't have budget. How do we need it? And I'm going to say, no customer ever has budget. But it's up to you with your business acumen to build a business case to show the customer that they can't afford to live without your solution, that your solution, for example, will solve this business problem, that even if your solution costs, $800 million and they've got a $200 million budget, if you're delivering $6 billion of business value, the customers will do it. And that's why it all has to do with CXO relevancy, leadership skills, sales skills, executive presence, ROI modeling, business decisions, presentation skills, executive relevance. What do you say to the CTO versus the CTO? And then how to do your system design. And it takes about 8 to 12 months with our training programs to do it. And our students are getting great results every day. And Blue Disaster, if you'd like to work with us, we'd love to take you. So Minex, you're saying, how long does it take to master cloud and get a job? Minex, if you want to master the cloud, unless you're a vampire and you are an immortal living 3,000 years, you will never master the cloud. So that's why you have to determine the career that you want. So people are like, I can do networking and security and cloud. No. I want to make this very clear. Before my intro to the cloud was the CCIE, which is this test that took me about 75,000 pages of reading to understand it. That was my intro level. After that, I got to realize exactly how much I didn't know. And what did I do? I spent 10,000 hours working on just BGP before I got to start knowing it. Now, I then spent another 5 more years on BGP. And at that point, I was starting to master BGP. Now, don't get me wrong. I had to master OSPF and I had to master MPLS, etc. It took me 25 years for that. Now, next, what was I not doing? Unified communications. What was I not doing? Wireless. What was I not doing? Switching. What was I not doing? Etc. And I can go on for another 500 years of networking careers that I didn't do in 25 years. How long does it take to master anything? A minimum of 10,000 hours in a small area. So to master cloud, if you were truly going to master the cloud, you'd have to master software development. You'd have to master executive communication. You'd have to master networking. You'd have to master cloud security. You'd have to master databases. You'd have to master big data. You'd have to master machine learning applications. And I could go on. And right now, I just gave you 50 to 75 years worth of training to get to not master level, to get to acceptably good level. So it takes about 8 to 10 months of my training program to get hired. And that will give you the competency to begin your career. And it will take you a minimum of 5 years to be really competent. And it will take you 25 to 30 years working in a small area to truly be a master of anything. Pavan, of course, our cloud architect training covers the solution architect requirements. Pavan, here's the difference. I'm a solution architect. I can design you an AWS solution. I'm a cloud architect. I'm going to design you a solution across AWS, Azure, Nutanix, and OpenStack, Google to give you the best solution. So cloud architects always can work with solution architects because we train far more than their skills. But the solution architects need a lot more training to actually be a cloud architect. Why do we train cloud architects? Because 87% of customers use more than one cloud and 97% want to be. So there is no future for the solution architect, only the cloud architect. And our cloud architects get hired every single day of the week. And a lot of them get hired by AWS as solution architects, or they get hired by big banks as cloud architects. But realistically speaking, it's the same job. And yes, we teach the requirements for both. Go on. We are not some silly certification company. We are a complete program. The students come to us. They build their career development program, which we help them with. We guide them on them. They do the work, and they stay on our program until they're hired. Now, part of this program is resume training to make the people reach out to you. Part of this program has got interview training, and people get to stay in the program until they're hired or a year passes, and nobody needs a year. And that's why we're able to say we have close to 100% success rate of getting people hired that do the job and do all the work, because we let them stay in our program until they're hired. And yes, we've got Robert Welch on this call where he's bombarded by 5 to 10 people a day trying to interview him. With the right branding, where the world comes to you. Our students do not have a problem getting hired. Our students have a problem dealing with the harassment of the people that are trying to interview them before they're ready. So yes, we've got a lot of that as part of our program as well. We are not a certification program or everything. Maury, what about those in Africa? Can you train from Africa online and still get hired? Of course you can. We've got lots of students in Africa. I actually have about 300 Nigerian students, about 300 Cameroonian students, although most of them are living in the US, but I've got people in Lagos. I've got people in Uganda. I've got people in Cape Town, South Africa. I have people in Gabon, Benin. I've got people in Ethiopia, Eritrea, Morocco. I have a student. I have a student in Uganda. So yeah, you can still get hired. Now I'm going to tell you, in Africa, it's going to be harder to get hired. I even have an employee in Bamenda, Cameroon right now, Maury, and he's fantastic. Eddie, who's on this call, and he is amazing. So of course you can. How do you keep up with the latest trends and practices in the cloud computing career? Here's the thing: the cloud is 20 years behind, so every new thing that comes out there is something I've dealt with. Like I tried to tell you. Hey, brand new thing, east-west routing in AWS. Oh, wait, Cisco did that in 95. Just this week, a direct connection. You can run IPOSec over it. Wow, really? Because I did that in 1998. So for us, none of it's new for us that have got a networking background thing. I've been doing the same stuff since 1996. How do you keep up with the latest trends? If you know the network and the data center, not only know the cloud now, you know where the cloud's going in the next 5, 10, and 15 years, because the cloud can't keep up with the traditional network and data center. Wait, the traditional network and data center can outperform the cloud? Yes, it can. So why are we moving from the traditional network and data center to the cloud, which has more features, more functionality, and better performance? The cloud is more agile. The agility enables more digital transformation. More digital transformation enables better performance. So if you know the network and the data center, then you'll be ahead. So it all comes down to fundamentals. So, virtualization was developed by IBM in the 70s. And NoSQL databases were basically developed by IBM around the 80s or somewhere around then. Now NoSQL databases are becoming popular. Now, to be fair, it's 45 years later. Now, the virtualization and the time-sharing releasing that IBM was doing, 40, 50 years ago, turned into Cisco making a virtual LAN, which was taking a switch and virtualizing its ports, which turned into server virtualization from VMware, which turned into server virtualization from KVM and QEMU, which is now the foundation for the EC2 instance, the Google Compute Engine instance, the Oracle virtual machine, the Azure virtual machine, the Citrix Zen virtual machine. See, it's all the same. It's all the same. That's the key. If you know the tech, what it is and how it works, there is nothing for you. Every new feature that comes out, it's like, okay, this is different. It's a new version of the old system. So how does a chef deal with a new ingredient? They've got the foundation for everything. They add the new ingredient. How does a pilot fly a new airplane? They've got such good flight fundamentals, they just do a little cross-training on the new one, and they're happily flying the new plane. How do you get a new car and drive the new car? If you know how to drive, you'll find on the new car. Old car, new car, doesn't matter. Good question, though. How do you deal with a company and a higher availability and performance than their budget can handle? Faraz, that's up to you being an architect. And if you're an architect and not an engineer, you're going to have business acumen. And with this business acumen, you're going to be able to obtain the customer requirements. And you're going to be able to build a business case by calculating the cost of downtime, by calculating the increased sales that come from better performance, especially speaking from, say, search engine optimization and better customer experience. So for us, this is why it's an executive job. You must know and be trained how to build a business case to influence something. So I've been an architect for 25 years. I've never had a customer that said to me, I can afford this. Not once. I can't afford this, I can't afford this, I can't afford this. Now I'm going to tell you what, 90% of the customers bought my design any case, whether they had a budget or not, because I build a business case. I want you to understand, how this works. For example, I consulted with a hospital. We have no budget for anything. And then I said, okay. I said, can I watch what's going on in your facility? And they said, sure. And while I was in the facility, I watched what nurses were doing. Because, by the way, nurses are the biggest cost in the U.S. to a healthcare organization. They average $50 to $75 an hour with their fully loaded salary. So what I then did is I said, let me see what your nurses are doing. I found out that the nurses were spending roughly 2 hours each looking for equipment. Okay, 1,000 people, $50 an hour, 2 hours a day, but it was overtime, meaning $150 times 1,000 nurses. Now, that's a lot of money. And when I presented the solution back to the customer, I said, we can implement these radio frequency ID tags, which will take your nurses from spending 2 hours per day to this. And by the time I was done, they saw that my solution cost $2 million, and they were going to be saving $20 million. And they were, woohoo, Mike, I got budget. Hey, Mike, could you talk about our communications thing? Sure. And again, I analyzed the workflow section. I found budget by showing them that the solution solves their business problem. So this is why they don't want engineers to be architects. They want someone with the business acumen, the business knowledge, the executive communication, the executive presence to be able to build the business case that shows the customer the value of the solution is greater than its cost. That's how you do it. And that's why you need to be a business executive, and that's why we train executive skills. Hey, Mike, I want to niche down as an injury as a general cloud architect. For example, private equity. What is the best way to learn this business vertical? Work in it. So, if you want to be a business, I would say banking, potentially not private equity, but I would say more banking. But let's say you wanted to do private equity. What would I do? I'd start talking to people in private equity firms. Interview as many of the people as you can find. What are your biggest business challenges that you have in life? What are the things that keep you up at night? What are the things that keep you from doing your job? What are the problems you actually face every day in your job? This is the information you need to do some digital transformation. Then, what you need to go is find out what applications the industry uses, what kind of feeds the industry is using, what are the goals of this industry, how does the industry make money? And then from there, you can figure out the type of innovation and technology that can make that business more efficient. So niching down, I love it. I would say probably better to be an architect for the financial services industry because there's probably more opportunity than just private equity. But even if you wanted to do private equity, that's still fine. But really get in there. Ideally work in the industry. So, I was a banking architect for a long time. Now, reality is I lived in New Jersey. I worked on Wall Street, and I got to see what people do. And what is the first thing I did on my job? Okay, trader 1, what do you do? Trader 2, what do you do? Trader 3, and I literally interviewed like 500 employees in the first month. And after that, I was able to design some meaningful solutions. But that's really the key. And then when I worked at Cisco, they said, Mike, we're interested in the healthcare vertical. And I said, really? And they said, would you be interested in joining my team? I think you know healthcare. I'm like, yes. I was a nurse practitioner, had my own internal medicine practice. I know the workflows on the ambulances, the hospitals, the ERs, the ICUs, the step-down units, the CCN. And they're like, Mike, you were hired. And I was super impactful in that role because I was an expert on it. So work in the industry, generally speaking, is, or at least learn some more, read everything you can. Read about the biggest people in the industry. Read their financial statements, their balance sheets. Look at the pain points, the business challenges. Look at what industry analysts are saying about the business. Look at the CEO's videos. You're going to get a good idea as to what's going on. That's how you do it, G. That's how you become an industry expert. Good question. James T. You're looking at Bob I say James T. I say this every day. If you're on our class, please come to our classes. When you look at job postings, they're going to have every stupid thing known to man. And when you come to our class, you'll hear, as I've said, I've never had more than 10% of what's on a job interview. All these job things these stupid job descriptions are based on two of the following problems. It has on average 5,000 employers. 5,000 people apply for every single job, and a company like Amazon has 25,000 positions. So HR puts up roadblocks to keep you from applying. Because they can't deal with 50,000 people applying, they need to narrow it down. So they ask for Olympic gold medals. They ask for 20 years experience and things that didn't exist, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then, James, what happens is we interview as the hiring manager, and now you get to us, tell me how to design this. I can figure this. Let me tell you how great it is. Okay, no. How do I design this? Would you design this? Let me tell you, I wrote a bash shell script. And I'm like, okay, so escort it out of the room. And what we all do is we all call our favorite recruiter. And I call Christina Marino in New York. I say, Christina, I need an architect that knows this, and this. And then what she does is this following. She then says, Mike, I've got the person. So we don't care about job descriptions at all. Now, it's so bad, James T., that actually, and you'll see it in COO Magazine, that Gartner, who's the expert on what anything goes on in technology, started asking chief information officers, hey, we're looking at these stupid cloud architect job descriptions. No cloud architect does this. What do you want in a cloud architect? And here's what they posted. They want someone that leads the cultural change for cloud adoption, someone that develops and coordinates the cloud architecture, someone that can develop the cloud strategy and coordinate the adoption process. What do you want them to do every day? Find talent with the necessary skills, assess application software and hardware, create a cloud broker team, establish best practices for cloud across the company, overseeing governance and mitigating risks, working closely with the IT security people to monitor privacy and develop incident response procedures, manage budgets, and estimate costs and operate at scale. This is the customer saying, this is what I want. So HR can't do it. Now, HR, James, puts a lot of roadblocks because they can't do this. Now, I want you to also understand, HR can't ask you how to design an architecture. Never. So what they look for is experience and all these other things and hope that translates into competency, but it usually does not. Great question. Chris, let's go to the next one. Got about 10 minutes or so I can go, so maybe 15 or 20 max. Robert Welsh, should you be providing your photo ID to a recruiter? Thought it was odd. You know, Robert, generally speaking, no. So what I would do is I would actually look to the headers of those emails. If it's truly cognizant and they recognize it, yeah, I'd provide it. But as a general rule, the answer is no. I'd be very wary of a phishing scam, etc. Good news is I know you know how to look at the headers and all those other things to see if it's real versus not real. And you can look up the person and cyberstalk them and see if they really work, where they say they do. But generally speaking, it doesn't seem like they would do it. Cognizant's a pretty big organization. They've got a good secure messaging way to reach out to you. They may reach out to you on LinkedIn and then set up a secure messaging thing. But I would not be providing any photo verification of me until I knew that it was actually them. It seems a little questionable to me. Lawrence, what are your thoughts on seemingly significant hiring freezes and refunding officers? Seem to be more coding jobs. So Lawrence, here's the jobs that are going to get burdened by the layoff, and here's what I got to say. The cloud architect jobs are generally good, and here's the reason why. We cloud architects are generally part of the sales team. We meet with clients, ask questions, and bring business in. And in a down economy, we generally see these. Now, Lawrence, I will say that we are seeing some of our offers that are the $300,000 ones that have been rescinded are pushed off. That only the $300,000 ones so far, we're still seeing extremely fast hiring in our job between $100,000 and $200,000, and that hasn't slowed down. Now, who's going to be getting laid off or not getting hired? The back-end engineers, they're going to be the ones that are going to go, and they're going to be really struggling. And here's why. In a down economy, you need sales. So marketing people that do marketing, which is advertising and branding strategy and promotion, they're gone. Back-end engineering is gone. And what happens is companies may end up bringing in more architects to sell more stuff, and they may be taking the current engineers they have and saying, work twice as hard. We can't afford anybody, so here you're here, here you're here, here you're here. So there's that. So back-end engineers, cost centers. Who gets laid off? I'm going to tell you right now, the people with the least emotional intelligence, the people that are the least likable, the people that are the least friendly, the people with the worst attitude. Now, Lawrence M., I'm going to tell you this. I've never been laid off from any job in 25 years. And Lawrence M., I'm going to tell you that of the clients I've coached, I only had one person that got laid off. His name was Carell. He was a brilliant guy. He had a six-figure severance and a $300,000 job within a week. So he was really excited. But now let's think about programmers. There's no reason to hire a programmer in the U.S. ever. And here's the reason why. I'm in the U.S. I need a program. I pay $60, $70 an hour to get somebody that's acceptably good. I can go to India, for example, and for $15 an hour get someone that's better than that 60 to 70 an hour programmer. So in a down economy, with global cloud computing, Zoom, WebEx, Microsoft Teams being as good as it is, well, I mean, any of these jobs are going to get outsourced. So post-sales jobs, outsourced. Coding jobs, outsourced. Deep hardcore engineering, anything, outsourced. Now, the cloud engineer might still be okay because the cloud engineer is helping organizations go from the network and the data center, which is costly, to the cloud by building it. Still, the cloud engineer, I think, is more ripe for outsourcing because it doesn't matter whether your cloud engineer is in Cameroon, Cape Town, or Canada. I mean, it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. So engineering careers, et cetera, are really there. So yes, we're slightly concerned about it, but we believe the trends are going to be mostly affecting programmers, back-end engineering, QA engineering, test engineering, help desk, and admin roles, which are the roles we teach people, we recommend people not do in the first place anyway, for those reasons. Too outsourceable and it's commodity skills. Lots of people know coding, but very few people know how to design, present, and sell as an architect. Great question. Pavan, as a cloud architect, how many projects or customers on average does he or she gets per year? Also, do you work in a team? Okay, so Pavan, it's two things. It depends what you're working on. I've worked on billion-dollar architectures that took a year and a half to design and did nothing else other than one customer and mostly bought lunches, dinners, drinks, and attended meetings. I've also done simple architectures early in my career where I would be dealing with, an architecture every couple of weeks. It's dependent upon how good you are, how good your leadership skills are, your sales skills, your business executive. Now, I'm going to make this really clear to you. There is never a one-person architect job. Everything takes a team. And that's why they don't want engineers. They want leaders, executives. So, Pavan, I go meet with the customer. After I deal with my customer and they tell me about their $3 billion data centers and their $60 billion a year of revenue, and there are 40,000 remote locations, and their critical needs for security, even with my 25 years experience, there's no way I can intelligently solve that all by myself. I need about 1,000 years experience in the room to do it. I have to go back to my company, and I've got to convince everybody in the company. I've got to reach out to the CEO, if potentially, or the EVPs or SVPs, and say, I need people from your team. And I'm going to get 3 cloud network architects and 2 other cloud architects and a cloud IAM architect and a cloud security architect and a cloud big data architect and some database administrators. And I'm going to get some security engineers and security architects. And I'm going to get some data scientists and I'm going to get some DevOps engineers. And together, we're going to work together and design something. So everything is a team. And this is why you must know how to lead the team to be the architect, because it's not a tech job. It's an executive job with tech. You're the main relationship owner, point of contact. Is blockchain a good career option to the cloud? I don't know. I've got a pretty strong blockchain balance. I think most of these Web 3.0 NFTs are going to die. I think certain things like Bitcoin, which is distributed architecture, still have some merit. And I think there's good uses of blockchain with regards to pharmaceutical, to not getting lost, business communication, potentially digital transfer of currencies, etc. So I think it's going to be there, but I'm going to tell you this. You could spend all your life learning blockchain and it could totally go away. And it could be something big and we just don't really know yet. So I don't know if it's a good career option. I happen to love blockchain. I don't know what's going to go on with the metaverse. So I don't know if that's going to make it. I don't know if this Web 3.0 stuff, NFTs are going to make it. So I think in the end, there are good blockchain projects, excellent ones, and they're going to be there. But I think 80 to 90% of them are going to disappear. And, the musician that's got some blockchain art, I don't know. I mean, is it interesting? Is it not? I just don't know. So I feel much safer in the cloud architect thing. So, and I'll answer the last one that just came in from Amika, Chris. Amika, when does the class start? The second you sign up for it. Here's what we do, Amika, which is differently than anybody else. We have no defined start and stop. So, Amika, for example, last night while I was sleeping, half a dozen people signed up for the program. Now, what'll happen is as soon as they signed up while I was sleeping, because they're in different parts of the world, they instantly get access to the pre-recorded content of our program. So they'll watch videos, and there'll be a video, the complete, and then there'll be a homework assignment to turn in, which will give you feedback. You'll turn it via Slack. There'll be another thing you turn in, and we'll give you feedback on it on Slack. You'll turn the next one in, and we'll give you feedback on Slack. And then we'll bring you into the next class. Now, I come from a medicine and martial arts background, and here's what you do in medicine and martial arts. You mix the people, the black belts, the red belts, the orange belts, the green belts, etc., all in the same room. Same thing with doctors. 4th year resident, 3rd year resident, 2nd year resident, all in the interns, all in the same room. So why do you do it and we do it? Well, Amika, I want you to understand this. If you joined our program, let's say today, tomorrow you join our course. You're having a good time, Amika. Everybody's learning something. And then you're in the class, and what'll happen is the people that are ready to graduate, and by graduate, I mean get hired, are leading the architectural designs that they work with me. The people that have been in my program for about 4 weeks to 6 weeks are helping them design the architectures, and the newbies are watching, and learning. 4 weeks later, my senior people, my senior students are now working as cloud architects, which means they're cloud hired, and my intermediate people become the senior people, and Amika, those people that are still watching get to be there. And this process goes on and goes on and again. And why do I do this, Amika? Well, a couple reasons. I want to know that you can stay in the program until you're hired. And you may have 30 hours to study where somebody else has 10, which means that you can actually be in my program long enough to get hired. For example, Amika, it sounds like you're Nigerian from your first name. You don't have to be, but I'm assuming you are. What if you had to go to Lagos to visit a family member? And I had a student that had to go to Ethiopia for a little while to visit a family member. So if you had to go visit a family member in another country or take a 2-month break, I can say, when you call me when you come back, you're like, Mike, can I attend classes? And I'm like, Amika, welcome back. We're super excited to have you. And that's why I don't do batches. So the second you sign up, you're there. And you stay with us until you're hired or a year were to pass. And nobody needs a year. That's what we do. Because we want to know you get through. You're a data engineer with 20 years of experience. What cloud-specific area do I recommend? Venkat, again, what would you like to do? Your experience is what you did in the past. Yesterday, I ate Chinese food, most specifically chicken with broccoli, vegetable soup, and an egg roll. What does that have anything to do with me today? Today is today. What does that have anything to do with what I'm going to eat tomorrow? Or what sport I'm going to compete in tomorrow? Absolutely nothing. Venkat, what would you like to do? And that's what I recommend that you do. And then from there, it's just filling in the gaps. I don't care what your background is. I've got people that haven't graduated high school that are getting massive, high-paying cloud architect jobs. I've got people that are working serving food that are working for AWS as solution architects now. I've got psychologists that are working for banks as cloud architects. What would you like to do? I used to practice medicine before I went into tech. It's not what you used to do. That's irrelevant. It's what you would like to do, and then building the plan to get there. That's what matters, not what you used to do. That's yesterday. Your future is tomorrow. Don't worry about yesterday. Worry about tomorrow. Okay, so let me close on the following. Tomorrow night, we are going to have a really, really, really fun discussion. I'm going to be bringing in a network architect with 25 years experience along with me. I'm a network architect with 25 years experience, etc., etc. We're going to be talking about the migrations to the cloud, what the cloud does right, where the cloud is still 20 and 30 years behind the traditional networking, and how if you've got the right skills, you're going to be great. On Thursday, we have our completely free How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. Come to the webinar. I will go over the cloud architect job completely. I will show you how to tell the hiring manager about your life experience, past career experience, how it's still relevant, because it is. You just need to know how to show them that it is, regardless of what it was. We'll tell you what needs to be on your resume. We'll make sure you know the exact skills to learn. We'll tell you how to bypass HR. So you get past those silly HR job descriptions, which are meaningless, and show the hiring manager right for the job so you can get hired. And it's completely free. We do it on Thursday. Now, our students get harassed, I mean nonstop, from people trying to hire them. If you'd like to know the secret to their success of getting the people reach out to them so they don't have to apply for jobs, and like you could see, if you took last Tuesday's job, here's what you're going to find out. That he didn't apply for any jobs, and he had no cloud certifications, and yet he still got cloud hired for a very good architect role because he has the skills. And then, if you want to get your first cloud architect job or your first cloud engineer job, join us or take advantage of our special 30% off discount. I want you to reach your full potential, your maximum potential. So guess what our 30% discount code is? Potential, for 30% off of everything we have going on right now. So, love to work with you if you want to join us. And now you know how to find us. My team will pop a link to the course along with a 30% coupon. If you haven't liked the session yet, please leave it a like. If you had a good time, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell so you get informed of all the things we have coming your way. Take care, everybody. We'll get to see you soon.